Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Ritika Patni. I'm the founder of ArtH in Singapore and your host for today evening. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you for today's webinar on preventive healthcare and the building of immunity through Ayurveda, organized with support of the High Commission of India and Singapore and Indian Council of Cultural Relations on the occasion of the International Day of Yoga 2020. Today's webinar is the initiative of the Ayurvedic Practitioners Association of Singapore, APAS, and Art of Health, ArtH. Last few months, the one common theme that has been on absolutely everybody's mind is health. There's increasing awareness on the importance of preventive healthcare and the role of immunity, because while we wait for the success of trials and discovery of drugs which will perhaps enable us to overcome the present pandemic, there is also a growing realization that such a health crisis could happen again. And the most important insurance that we can take is the building up of our own immunity. The word for today's event only got out in the last few days, and we are delighted to see over 300 registrations, not just from Singapore, but also India and countries in Asia, Europe, and USA. Before we start the panel discussion, I just want to highlight a few housekeeping points. For all the members of the audience, you have access to the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to post your questions as the session goes along, and we will try to address as many of those as possible during the Q&A session. We are very honored today, as you can see on your screens, to be joined by 4 distinguished speakers whose contributions to Ayurveda have been recognized not just in India, but also on the international stage. Our panelists today will share unique insights based on their experience as Ayurveda doctors, academic researchers, parts of government task force on COVID, as well as part of the World Health Organization. We will also be shortly joined by His Excellency Mr. Javed Ashraf, India's High Commissioner to Singapore, in just some time. So starting the program, our first speaker for today is Dr. P.R. Krishnakumar, the force behind one of India's largest and one of the oldest Ayurveda institutions, Ayurveda Pharmacy. Presently, Dr. Krishnakumar is the head of AVP, and he is involved not just in the production of some of the highest quality of Ayurvedic medicines which are available globally, but also in the promotion of some path-breaking initiatives in Ayurvedic education, research, clinical services. Dr. Krishnakumar was awarded the Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2009 for his contribution to medicine. He is highly regarded amongst the current generation of Ayurveda practitioners, including some of our panelists, as a guru, teacher, visionary, counselor, and entrepreneur. A rare and unique combination of being both traditional and yet revolutionary, the Ayurveda community is blessed to have his guidance and leadership. Dr. Krishnakumar, thank you so much for joining us. Please share your views on preventive healthcare and immunity through Ayurveda.
His Excellency, respected Javed Ashraf ji, Ritika ji, other members of the High Commission, other members of the APAS, members of ICCR, most respected co-panelists, other yoga bandhus all over the world, my humble pranams to all of you. Don't you think, my dear co-panelists, it's like when half the tower is burnt, we are trying to dig a well to find water to put off the fire. We certainly appreciate the effort of APAS and the High Commission to call for a webinar like this to find out what can be done at this delayed hour. Ayurveda, a science evolved 10,000 years back. It's so beautifully designed to take care of your body, mind, and soul, and for everybody, anybody. And this immunity business has to start right from pregnancy when you're in the womb. The expectant mother should have taken care, and then Ayurveda is more a way of living than merely a curative therapy. And had somebody lived that way of life, the question of illness like this wouldn't arise. But even at this late stage, there are so many things that can be done to give them much better health conditions. And I'm sure experts like Dr. Ram Manohar and Dr. Gita Krishnan, who are experts in clinical medicine and practice, also wonderful researchers traveling around the globe spreading the message Ayurveda. If people can take them seriously, there is right now enough of medicines which have been under protocol, worked out, started immediately. Then the way of life. Man has forgotten God. We have made a disaster of not only nature but our own health. Living the wrong way of life, Ayurveda says what time you have to wake up. Depending on the sunrise in Singapore and in India is different. So 1.5 hours before sunrise. And prayer is a must, which is missing today. Everybody is busy, and the only victim is I had no time for prayers. Had you only been in connection with your maker, he would have come to your rescue. But today, 99% of the people are no more even touch of it. And today, yoga day. What is yoga? Yoking between your shariram and your atma. That merger had taken place, this situation wouldn't have arisen. So had people taken, and this has been there for ages, rishis and munis and swamijis and practitioners have been preaching this, but no, all of us are busy. Unless you became crippled, you never approached an Ayurvedic Vaidya. Now, health consciousness has improved, as Ritika ji rightly mentioned. The world has started rushing from all parts of the world, calls coming. Tell us how do we improve our immunity. And in India, we say in Ayurveda, Annam Aushadam. Your food is the best medicine. Why do you waste money going to a doctor and wasting money there? It's only when you become sick and you are immovable, then you need to go to that level. But Granny's kitchen in India prepared such wonderful food. But today, all of us are found on the streets eating junk food. And in spite of doing that, you want to have a healthy life? Impossible. And imagine an anu, paramanu, one smaller part of the whole atom could make the world come to such a standstill. No region of the world has been left free. And now I say Corona is a karunya because that's a blessing. We all started inquiring backwards what is happening, why is this happening, and today being a day of eclipse. How many youngsters called up and said, what do you think I should do to escape from the effects of that? Earlier, nobody cared to ask it. And there are such wonderful Ayurveda talks, not only gross body treatment, but there is philosophical treatment and there is a divine treatment. If all these three can be combined, you can start building your immunity right now. I would certainly like other colleagues also to participate and join. And you wanted a panel discussion, so it's unfair on my part to take the stage fully. With due respect to others, prepare to listen. And anybody would like to ask any questions specifically for me, I'm available at your service. Once again, thanking the organizers for giving this wonderful opportunity when daily there are at least 5 or 6 webinars. This is the third for me, and I'm sure Ramano and Gitaji must have had many more, and our other expert also. So at least at this late stage, let's try to catch up fast. And I'm sure we can do it. We are preparing a number of preventive medicines, and even countries like Singapore and Malaysia have asked in large quantities. And if people who are not affected can start taking it, or those who are in quarantine can start taking it, these are all simple herbs, nothing synthetic, nothing which has been brought from the outer world. In every country, God's creation is such that the plants which are required for your unhealthy condition is available. Or it is the other way around also. You become sick only provided the plant is there. But even lack of this awareness, why we are all time greedy after money, avaricious only after making money, which helps you to spend huge amounts in hospital. At least year after, let us make sure that we try to maintain health at this late stage. But the younger generation, the expectant mothers, tell them what are the do's and don'ts, how to bring out a child of grace and not a child of lust, as we see today. Children murdering their parents and teachers, etc., should stop. And immunity is not only against the individual body condition, but even national disasters are a concern for Ayurvedic Vaidyas. So with these few words, I will leave to Ritika to invite whoever the next panelist. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Krishna Kumar. That's always, you don't mince words, and you always give very straightforward, encouraging, insightful suggestions. So thank you so much for opening our panel discussion with your ideas and suggestions. I would now like to request Dr. P. Ram Manohar, who's also joined us for today's panel discussion. Dr. P. Ram Manohar is the research director at Amrita University. He was the principal investigator on the Indian side of the National Institute of Health sponsored research study to scientifically evaluate the efficacy of Ayurveda in rheumatoid arthritis, which was conducted in collaboration with the University of Washington and our very own AVP, Coimbatore, under the leadership of Daniel First, an eminent rheumatologist, and our very own Dr. Krishna Kumar. Among his other achievements, he's also been invited to speak at Harvard University for his work on integrative medicine, and more recently was appointed to the state and central government task forces on COVID in India. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram Manohar, for joining us. I'll hand over to you to share your thoughts with us. You would need to unmute Dr. Ram Manohar.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. So thank you, Ritika, and my pranams to the His Excellency Sri Javed Ashrafji, Krishna Kumarji, the other panelists, and all the eminent people who are attending this panel discussion. At the outset, I would like to say we are today talking about preventive healthcare and how Ayurveda can help us to build immunity. But this is also an International Yoga Day, a day in which we are trying to invoke the higher consciousness in our life. So we need to look at this problem also in a very broad perspective. I think COVID-19 is an effort of Mother Nature to heal itself. And, there are many lessons that we have to learn as we go through this pandemic experience. And the first and foremost, I think, is that COVID has put us into a kind of situation where we realize that, all the external props that we created to support our health, are all failing. Some of the first countries to be affected were places where modern healthcare had made tremendous advancements. And it is in these countries that we find people are not even able to find a place in a hospital to take care of themselves. So the clear message that we get from this pandemic is that, it's time to take care of ourselves. Self-care, taking care of ourselves, self-empowerment. I mean, this is one of the most important messages that comes from COVID-19. And this is where I want to point out that, we are still hunting and searching for a vaccine that will, be like an stimulate the production of antibodies and kill the virus that attacks us. But I want to say that from an Ayurvedic point of view, the most powerful vaccine that we can create, not only for COVID-19, but also, in anticipation of such health crisis in the future, is what Ayurveda calls as health intelligence. I mean, we need to awake our health intelligence. And that is exactly what yoga is also, preparing us for. And I want to point out, when you look at it from this broad concept of health intelligence, I want to also say that, WHO, when we were students, we grew up looking forward to the WHO slogan of health for all by 2080. Now we are 20 years into this new century, and still, we are facing a pandemic, and we are very, very far away from that goal. The current slogan is that universal health care. But all these things, the whole focus is delivering health from the outside. So that focus has to change. I mean, health is something which is the responsibility of every individual. And when we look at it from this point of view, even when it comes to Ayurveda, it's not just about swallowing some herbs or taking some formulation and suddenly magically your immune system will get boosted. That's not the way Ayurvedic immunity works. What COVID-19 has taught us is that, it can be even milder than a common cold in a lot of people, but in some others it can attack us like a monster. So this dual aspect of COVID is really making us think, what is it that makes a difference? In why does it become so mild? It just caresses some individuals like a soft feather and just passes away, even without their knowing that the COVID has come. Whereas in others, it takes them into the ICU and into ventilator support, and many of them have to lose their lives. So this is again a message that COVID says that it is not the same to everybody. I am reminded of the statement in Charaka Samhita where ArtH tells his disciple Agnivesha that an epidemic is coming, but for those who are prepared, who lead a life of righteousness, who prepare their body by boosting their immunity, for them this pandemic will not do anything. So this is the message that we need to take care of our bodies, and for the first step is to take care of the nature and environment around us. Let us not get into the delusion that by a medical solution, by developing vaccines, we will be able to deal with not only this pandemic but pandemics that may arise in the future. We need to, first of all, the first step in building immunity is to heal nature itself. And we must realize that unless we live in a natural environment which has healed itself, we will not be able to build our immunity. And when it comes to immunity, the first and foremost step that Ayurveda says in awakening intelligence, I want to emphasize this because we are discussing this topic on International Yoga Day, is awakening of our own consciousness. It is with that awareness that you can really take care of your health. Like Krishna Kumarji was mentioning about waking up in the morning, all this is done. The Brahma Muhurta is the point where your mind, you're expanding your consciousness and uniting with nature around you. And unless we evolve into and do a kind of self-transformation that takes us to a new vision of life and health, we will not be able to, go into the future. This is what I strongly believe. But when coming back to Ayurveda and for individual-based immunity measures, there are so many things. It's not again just about herbs. It's about, the way you lead your life, your physical activity, the way you sleep, all these things. There are enough studies that have shown that a balanced lifestyle, with optimal physical activity, optimal diet, overeating, all these things are adversely affecting your immune system. If people are able to overcome COVID-19 very easily, it is because they are what you call as the barrier immunity, the innate immunity, all these are functioning very effectively. And these are all supported if you follow a very healthy and balanced lifestyle. So coming to herbs, I will just conclude because there are other eminent panelists here who would also want to express their views and I shouldn't take up their time. So I want to also say that there are many, many things that Ayurveda has to offer. We have not fully explored it. There are simple measures which we use in our day-to-day life, doing nasya by cleansing your mouth. In South Korea recently, they found a formula which if you use to gargle your mouth, you can prevent the activity of virus for 2 hours. Ayurveda has been mentioning these kind of measures. Nasal carriage of the virus is very important. There are many, many kind of formulations that Ayurveda advises for, cleansing your nose, and this prevents viral replication. So starting from such simple measures to balanced diet, to herbal formulations, Ayurveda has a whole lot of things to offer. So I think with this, I will conclude here. The final point is that we need to look at healthcare and immunity from a very broad perspective and not just from a medical perspective. We need to go beyond that. And I think that is a message that COVID-19 is conveying to us. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ram Manohar. That's a very enlightening, all the suggestions that you have given. And I think it also just goes to show that, often people have a unidimensional perspective of Ayurveda, where often people think it is the medicines or the herbs, or some people associate it with Panchakarma or the massage. But Ayurveda is just so much more, as encompassing the entire science of life in the real sense of that word. So I hope we can derive more such important information from our panelists' discussion today. I will now hand over to Dr. Yamini Bhushan Tripathi, Dr. Tripathi is the Dean of the Faculty of Ayurveda at Banaras Hindu University. He has, of course, also received a PhD in biochemistry, which gives him very unique insights because of being at the cross-section of both Ayurveda and modern medicine. And we would be very grateful if Dr. Tripathi can share his views with us on the topic of today's discussion. Thank you, Dr. Tripathi.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Tripathi.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, respected all panelists and all the persons who are attending this webinar. I am thankful to Dr. Patni, who has invited me for this program. And it is the International Yoga Day, the 6th International Yoga Day. And I want to tell one thing that India is the Vishnu Guru. We are always think of it. But the correct message should go. And I think till now, in the last 5 years, we could not give the correct message of what is yoga. Because if you see the Ashtanga Ayurveda yoga, there are 8 components. And we have propagated asana and pranayama in a big way. The whole world is looking towards yoga in this way. But the yam niyam, asana pranayam, pratyahar, dharan, dhyan, samadhi, 8 steps, and all are having their own importance. What I mean to say that being a biochemist, I can see that without following the yam, niyam, and pratyahar, all these things may not give the complete health care which is required by Ashtanga Yoga. So what is yam and niyam? That is very important. And what is the biochemistry behind it? I want to highlight within 1 minute. That by using the ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, these are the yam. And by suchita, santosh, tap, swadhyaya, and ishwar pradhan. So these are the 10 steps. They are affecting your psyche and your soma, both. If you go to the rasayan, because Ashtanga Ayurveda has a rasayan, vajikaran, and bhuti vidya, all the 3 things. And what is the prayojan of Ayurveda? Swasthasya swasthya rakshanam, atrasya vikas prasannam. The healthy people should remain healthy, and the patient should be treated. Now, the earlier speaker has said about the COVID and the immune system. I call it vyadhi chamatva. Vyadhi chamatva means the whole system. It is not only the immune system, it is all the proteins, proteases, which are responsible to prevent your chronic diseases, non-communicable chronic diseases. That has to be prevented. But how it will be prevented? Because if you follow this, and there are 3 approaches in Ayurveda, I'm just correlating the Ashtanga Ayurveda and Ashtanga Yoga together to understand the people. In Ashtanga Ayurveda, Bhut Vidya, Vajika and Rasayan, they are the preventive and promotive care for psyche and for soma both. And there are 3 approaches of treatment: Deva Vyapashraya, Yukti Vyapashraya, and Sattva Vajra. And if you see the Ashtanga Yoga, the Yam Niyam and Pratyahar, they are focusing about Deva Vyapashraya. And this last 3, they are focusing about Sattva Vajra. And Yukti Vyapashraya means what something you are doing. Either you are taking medicine or you are doing yoga, pranayam, and asanas. They are the physical activities for your lung, for your body, all your organs. So all the things are going together. Then only you can have your immune system boosting. And earlier speaker very rightly said, you cannot bring the immunity within a day. You have to practice it for lifelong. And the lifelong means Ayurveda is a science of life. So Swasthvrit is one part of Ayurveda, but if you remember the Ashtanga Yoga, it is the complete health science. But if you only follow and propagate asana and pranayam, I don't think we are going to reach our full strength of yoga. Third important point that aharam maha aushadhi is spoken. What is ahar? So bhoja kalanam is another important thing Maharishi Charak has given. Time of eating and quality of eating. Everything is covered under yam, niyam, and pratyahar. and devotion to God, that is very important thing. That is called Deva Vyapasra. Unfortunately, the whole country is not practicing these two parts. Only Yukti Vyapasra is being practiced. As of today, Yam and Asana and Pranayam being practiced by Yogacharya. Similarly, Yukti Vyapasra is being practiced by Vaidya. So my humble submission today is to take Ashtanga Ayurveda in totality and Ashtanga Ayurveda in totality. Then both things together can bring you the good health. With these words, I extend my thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Tripathi. I hope today's session will help us dispel a lot of myths which surround Ayurveda. Like I said, often people just go to Ayurveda when they are unwell, and when they think they need a cure. But Ayurveda has so much more to offer in terms of the day-to-day living and practice of yoga and so many other practices. Before I move on to the next speaker, I just want to also, welcome our High Commissioner of India to Singapore, His Excellency Mr. Javed Ashraf. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us for today's program. I'll go to Dr. Gita Krishnan and then we'll come back to Sir Javed Ashraf for addressing the audience. So our next panelist for today is Dr. Gita Krishnan. Dr. Gita Krishnan is currently serving as the technical officer at World Health Organization's Traditional, Complementary and Integrative Medicine Unit at Geneva, where he is working on the development of global standards of practice for traditional medicine. As former head of one of India's largest and well-known integrative medicine facility, he also has extensive experience in integrative administration of yoga and Ayurveda for patients suffering from cancer, heart disease, and various other neurological disorders. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Gita. I'll hand over to you to take forward the panel discussion today.
Thank you, Ritika ji. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. His Excellency, the Ambassador, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to speak here. And my most respected Guru, Krishna Kumar ji, my friend and colleague, Dr. Ram Manohar, Dr. Yamini Bhushan Tripathi ji, friends in APAS and other organizations which had helped in organizing this program, and the organizers from ArtH and other colleagues who have joined here. This is a very apt opportunity which you had given and provided me for addressing on the day of International Day of Yoga. I have been, as Krishna Kumarji had said, been part of 2-3 other meetings today itself, and I will be continuing that as the day blooms in Europe and then as well as in US. So I have a long journey to go today. But as all my previous 3 speakers have said, one of the main things which I would like to highlight here is why immunity became very important during the COVID-19 period. We know that during very early during the period of COVID infection, when doctors started looking at what is happening and why few people are dying quite strangely, they understood that it is the immune reaction or the wrong immune reaction or the hyperimmune reaction which was causing all these deaths. And that is how immunity became a major factor. And then later the issue, the introduction of possible possibility of blocking of ACE inhibitors and over the cell surfaces, ACE receptors over the cell surfaces using different medicines, including that we call as the hydroxychloroquine, was a major thing. And then that is when the entire world started looking towards immunity. So we know that having immunity is not enough. Having the right kind of immunity is the most important thing. Like having immunity which is highly reactive to anything is not what we are looking at. So in that respect, yoga is a very, very important part of what can be a immune booster, especially in conditions like COVID. As Dr. Yamini Bhushan Tripathi ji said, immunity in an Ayurvedic sense is not only preventing of an infectious disease, it is Vyathik Shamatva. Vyathik Shamatva is not only your ability to ward off diseases, it is your ability to recover from a disease. It is equally important, like you might succumb to a disease, it is probable, you might get infected. As Dr. Ramanohar said, for many people, it is like just the touching of a feather. You don't even know that. But how can you reach that stage where an infection, which is from a modern perspective, which can cause death to many people, goes through your body as if it is touching you with a feather? That is what is called as Vyathik Shamatva, and that is what you can achieve through Ayurveda and yoga, a combination of that. You can look at it, like many scientific studies had gone through it. It helps, yoga specifically helps your body to understand understand any external factors and react to it in the most appropriate manner. It reduces the stress hormones. It improves the body's response systems through specific mechanisms of like the IL-6 mechanisms, which happens to identify the intruders and help the body to fight against it. So does several of the Ayurvedic medicines. But as Krishna Kumarji said at the very beginning, it is not only that few medicines that is going to help you. It is a lifestyle which has to start from the very beginning of your life. When the very beginning of the life, from an Ayurvedic perspective, it is even beyond your control. It is in the control of your parents. It is in the control of the society. Can we build a society? Can we build a culture which will imbibe into itself a group of cultural and cultural elements which will build health and which will build immunity innate to it? That is what we should be striving to. And I think I wouldn't take too much of your time, because you said 25 minutes. We have already passed around 14 minutes from the beginning we started. So I would wait for my turn to speak later. But thank you for so much for giving this. But the crux of my talk is that immunity is something which is important, but not overrated immunity or hyper-reactive immunity. We want the right optimum kind of immunity. Ayurveda and yoga are the best methods to achieve it. We can identify tools and methodologies which can allow the community to imbibe this culture into themselves anywhere in the globe, not only in India, not only to Indians. It can be applicable to anywhere and everyone across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gita. Those were some excellent points. I think everybody realizes that at some levels, none of us are really completely immune from infection, disease as we travel across the world. But like you said, it's not important to ward off disease. It's important to also, if you get disease, to have a robust immune system so you can recover. With that, I will now like to just briefly introduce our special guest today, His Excellency Mr. Javed Ashraf. For everyone who's in Singapore, he just needs no introduction, because his active involvement with the Indian diaspora and all his efforts to strengthen the India-Singapore relations over the last few years are known to everybody. Some of us, of course, have been very fortunate to see his very encouraging and supportive role for the promotion of Indian culture, particularly yoga and Ayurveda. Also, together with his team, we know that he has been almost on the front lines of the COVID battle, providing round-the-clock assistance to community in Singapore during these difficult last few months. So thank you, sir, for joining us. We are very grateful. I'd request you to please address the audience.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ritika. First of all, for putting this together. It's very impressive audience that you have here. You yourself are a living embodiment of what Ayurveda can do. Your own organization, ArtH, Art of Health, and the way you explain Ayurveda, a young, talented, bright woman with extraordinary qualifications, but the logic and the science behind Ayurveda, the way you explain it, it certainly helps to mainstream Ayurveda into our lives. I'd like to also thank APAS, Ayurveda Practitioners Association of Singapore. They have been wonderful partners for us over the past 3 years. There's just excellent doctors. Singapore is blessed to have such a strong contingent of Ayurveda practitioners here, and it also speaks of the popularity of Ayurveda. I'm sorry that I have just come out of a 1.5 hour long session where I was speaking for an hour on the power of cross-border power of Indian heritage and culture. And that, in some sense, I of course also touched upon yoga and Ayurveda, especially today being the International Day of Yoga. Now, I think all of you remember how it came into being when Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi called for it. I was there with him at that point of time in UNGA in September 2014, and it took less than 100 days for the United Nations General Assembly to adopt it unanimously and co-sponsored by a record number of 177 member countries. And today it's observed everywhere in the world. It shows many things. It shows, I think, first of all, the power and the capacity of human beings to rise across their boundaries of culture and beliefs and traditions to come together for a larger good. And I think the recognition globally of the benefits of yoga in particular, but also of Ayurveda. And as Prime Minister said, it is for a healthy individual, a more peaceful world, and a sustainable planet. And I think because Ayurveda and yoga linked to lifestyle, it affects all three very important aspects of this world. I'd also like to thank the eminent speakers you have assembled today. I feel a bit intimidated speaking before them. Dr. Krishna Kumar, Dr. P. Ram Manohar, Professor Tripathi, and Dr. Gita Krishnan. Thank you all for joining. I mean, I listened very briefly, and again, I mean, each time I listen to it, my own personal faith in Ayurveda keeps increasing. I just wanted to say this, that it is once again today when we are observing lockdown and restrictions throughout the world, that I find that International Day of Yoga has been celebrated with as much fervor and interest and enthusiasm as in previous years. In Singapore, where last year we had 180 sessions of yoga and in 120 venues, which means one venue every 6 square kilometers of Singapore. This year we have more than 100 sessions virtual, and with 40 participating organizations, 4 webinars. This one being a big highlight of our IDY, and we wanted it to be today. It just tells you how popular it is here in Singapore. And I think you have I was just hearing Dr. Gita Krishnan, he hit the right tone on this, that we are not talking about medicine, we're talking about life. And we have said Ayurveda is a science of life, and it is really about self-being in a holistic, grounded manner, whereas there is harmony between the body, the mental, the physical, and the emotional, or call it the conscious, subconscious self, or the self, the Atman, when they are in harmony. And that doesn't happen because we are eating certain kinds of things. That's one part of it. So it's important thing to understand this, that it is about the way we live our lives. It does not mean that, and it has to change our mindset from saying we go to a doctor, we get a few strips of medicine, and we want like an instant relief from it. So it is not really about treating symptoms, but about treating the underlying deeper root causes. It isn't about administering medicine, but it is about changing the lifestyle. It isn't just about curing, it is about building a life that enables you to both have immunity, but it is also about the way you are able to respond to illness. And I can say this, that my response system with Ayurveda to normal common colds has improved enormously. And this is, again, it doesn't happen overnight. So you've got to have a sense of belief in it. And this can happen when we educate people the right way, and not merely make it look like as though this is some mystery or some sort of a magic that people are trying to foist on you, or something that is not to be believed. And I think that in today's world, both generally, when we are facing enormous demands of life, constant, accelerating pace of change, stress-related, lifestyle-related diseases, high cost of healthcare, which is causing political and social problems in many countries. It can actually bring governments down the way things are rising. In the US, healthcare is the biggest debate. Here also in Singapore, the cost of healthcare is a major political issue. And when we think of toxicity, so often it takes us years to understand the side effects of normal allopathic sometimes treatment can far outweigh the immediate benefit. So I think it is important that these changes are coming about and people are becoming aware. But in the time of pandemic, as we just heard Dr. Gita Krishnan, this has become an even more relevant factor. Why? One, that I think everyone is now really getting conscious about preventive healthcare. These last 3 months have been transformative in the minds of many people. Everyone's talking about immunity, resilience, ability to come out of this. Second is, how do I stay fit when I'm not able to go out and exercise? I think yoga and Ayurveda help in that as well. And the third is that during this period, we've all dealt with anxiety about and uncertainty about loss of jobs, about loneliness, about being cut off from our social moorings, about our framework, not being able to meet our parents, grandparents, not being able to meet our friends, not being able to meet our children. It's created a world where we've lived in isolation. And there is a real challenge of depression, of anxiety, of psychological and emotional troubles. I think this is a time we must raise awareness of how yoga and Ayurveda can be great benefits in tackling this. Now, one of the biggest arguments people say, how do I trust someone? How do I know I've got the right guy? Now, my answer is that whatever you do in life, with whoever you do it, you have to have that, you have to be discerning enough to say if this is a good consultant or a bad consultant, if this is a good physician or a bad physician. Why do we change allopathic doctors? Why do we change surgeons? So similarly, we need to be able to have that discerning mind. We need to educate that we have to go to people who are the best. And I think we in government are on the right path. The Ministry of Ayush has done some great work. WHO is also doing some great work in that. We've had a partnership with WHO. So whether it is in terms of research and development, whether it is in terms of education, in terms of training, and in terms of quality, certification, standards, these are important things. Developing the pharmacopoeia. What kind of scientific methods are we using for testing and validating the impact of yoga and Ayurveda? The same methods we are using as they use in any other Western system. So now there is a body of knowledge. There's a body of solid scientific work that is able to prove the causal relationships between certain causes, between certain issues, and the benefits that yoga and Ayurveda provide. Plus, the way we are working now on standardization, quality assurance, the way we are working on certification, on production standards of medicine, and the way today our Ayurveda practitioners are able to interpret and explain. I mean, I go to an Ayurveda doctor here, he is able to read X-ray and MRI the way your surgeons in Mount Elizabeth can read. Now, that is what's changing, and people are bound to have more. Similarly, we have worked with WHO in the government to develop, there are, I think Dr. Gita Krishnan can talk about it, and recognizing certain Ayurvedic medicines, and then they become accepted. So, and we in government have signed now MOUs with 19 countries for promotion of Ayurveda, research, propagation. We've done that with 18 universities abroad, and we've set up 13 chairs abroad for promotion of Ayurveda and yoga, in particular with Ayurvedic practices. In Singapore too, for the last 3 years, we've been working with Singapore government to remove some of the hurdles that Ayurveda practitioners face over here, and there are a number of them in the regulations, in how they are classified. One, how they can get their medicines here, how they can get their technicians, for example, the physiotherapists, whom they're classified as physiotherapists over here, what kind of employment regulations work for them, what kind of licensing procedure is there. These issues have been able to simplify considerably, and it has been a privilege for us to work with our past to do that. Similarly, we now aim higher. What I would like to see is that eventually Ayurveda is accepted here as a traditional system of medicine eligible for insurance and other privileges like the Chinese traditional medicine has. That will require an act of parliament in Singapore. We hope that eventually, by the work that you are doing, that our past is doing, and many other supporters of yoga and Ayurveda are doing, we will be able to reach that goal. And we're also working with, incidentally, NTU. And I'd like to encourage people, because NTU, Nanyang Technological University, one of the best universities in the world, certainly #1 in Asia in engineering, is willing to set up a center for science and Ayurveda. We need to be able to raise resources for it. Professor Subra Suresh, the president of that university, we said at least let's start with a chair, which costs less than a center. And I hope that some of the entrepreneurs here and outside will be able to put together resources, which will then get matching grant from Singapore government, and we'll have enough corpus to be able to put up a chair and then eventually convert that into Center for Science and Ayurveda. And it will be a great contribution to the field of propagating Ayurveda here in Singapore. So I want to once again thank you, Ritika. You are doing amazing work in promoting Ayurveda with such passion and commitment and integrity and insight to all the speakers, extremely illuminating to all the past participants. I hope many of you are now motivated to follow this as a lifestyle, not simply go and buy a supplement. Follow this in a holistic way and you will feel the change within and outside yourself and in your relationship with people, society, and the world, and in your relationship with the work that you do. So all the best, and let's hope this turns out to be another great week of International Day of Yoga 2020 here in Singapore. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. As always, it's a pleasure listening to you. It's also very reassuring to, of course, hear of your confidence in Ayurveda, but also to hear of all the wonderful initiatives that you just highlighted, including the NTU initiative that is being undertaken for promotion and standardization of Ayurveda. We have limited time for the panel, so I don't want to speak much myself. I would really like the panel to be able to answer some of the questions which have been put forth. However, before that, we've all discussed all the wonderful initiatives that Singapore is undertaking for Ayurveda and yoga, and there is one organization in particular that has done something which I would like to share with everybody. This is an organization called Being Sattva. It's a Singapore-based company that is focused on empowering and inspiring people to lead their best lives possible. They offer programs around Southeast Asia, not just to individuals, but also to businesses and companies by running sustainable retreats with a center in Bali in Indonesia. This International Day of Yoga, they have also conceptualized and created a piece of music which is called The Spirit of Yoga. And we would like to request His Excellency Sir Javed Ashraf to virtually please launch this from the platform today.
Well, it's a really great pleasure to launch this. I've had a preview of this and I can tell you it is mesmerizing. I want to thank Renuka and her team for putting this together. When you hear this Hariharanji and sing in this, you will be absolutely transformed, and the manner in which she weaves yoga into the environment, into which she takes it from Bali to Singapore to India to other places. It's really brings out just the magic of yoga, the beauty, the grace, and the benefits that you can actually get from it. So it's a great contribution, I think, to the promotion of yoga, to the world of yoga. And I'm confident that it should be downloaded, but it will be downloaded by everyone. And eventually, I have a feeling everyone's going to be chanting this, humming along with it, and use this to inspire yourself to practice yoga and make it part of your daily life. It's not just yours, but your entire family. So please watch this. It's a great video. And once again, thank you, Renuka, for putting this together. What a wonderful initiative this is.
Thank you, sir. So, we're virtually launching this today on our platform, and with your permission, I will just play a short clip for everybody to be able to see and hear this wonderful piece of music. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that beautiful piece of music. We will, of course, share the link to that in our thank you emails to everybody at the end of the webinar. So if you want to listen to it, download it, you have access to that. We've received several questions actually, and we may not be able to address all of them in today's session. My apologies to those attendees whose questions we are not able to address. We will definitely try after the program to address your questions in separate emails, which we will send to all the attendees. But in the meanwhile, I'd definitely like to take some questions and pose it to some of our speakers. I will start with Dr. Ram Manohar. Dr. Ram Manohar, you of course give us insightful ideas about how Ayurveda is a tool for self-empowerment. And I think some of our participants have also asked that question. Most people think that Ayurveda is about going and buying a medicine or going to an Ayurveda doctor. How, according to you, people can incorporate Ayurveda in their day-to-day life? And in particular, in the context of the current pandemic, which has resulted in the overuse of technology and excessive stimulation of the mind, which results in stress, has an adverse impact on immunity. So what do you think Ayurveda has to say to tackle these modern day challenges?
Ayurveda is like a mirror. You need to start knowing about yourself using the knowledge of Ayurveda. So when you look at Ayurveda, you see yourself, you understand. So Ayurveda says that is your mental, physical constitution, what makes you very unique. And with this understanding of oneself, Ayurveda opens up like a user's manual. It tells you how to take care of yourself in a very unique way. This individualized approach is very, very important. People today are thinking that, you can get some general advice. It's not that. This is what I meant by awakening health intelligence. The first step is to know who you are. What is your physical constitution? What is your mental constitution? Why is it that you are responding in a particular way to a particular situation in the environment? How can you optimize, your interaction with the environment? How can you optimize your diet? How can you find a way of life that is more suited for you? So the user's manual that Ayurveda is very specific for each person. So the fingerprint, the key to open this user's manual is the knowledge of your own constitution. And this is the way you need to approach Ayurveda. You need to learn and study and understand Ayurveda. So this is what I want to say. Everybody, Ayurvedic texts say who should study Ayurveda. Anybody who wants to lead a long life should start imbibing the teachings of Ayurveda and incorporating it into your life. So unless you start becoming a student of Ayurveda, this transformation will not come through.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanohar. That was very well put. We at ArtH say that Ayurveda is precision-based, personalized medicine. And it is no less than, the artificial intelligence that people talk about today. We first need to have our own, like you said, inner health intelligence before we go out and look for the artificial intelligence. Thank you for your insights on that point. I'll next come to Dr. Krishna Kumar. Dr. Krishna Kumar, of course, is a very, very well-known personality in the field of Ayurveda. But I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that he's also been very closely working with the government of India on various initiatives, including initiatives relating to this pandemic. So we all heard that PM Modi said in one of his speeches a few days back that after yoga, the world will start accepting the benefits of Ayurveda. And, of course, he shared his tips on enhancement of immunity. Dr. Krishna Kumar himself has in fact been leading the development of Ayurvedic drugs and protocol for clinical trial amidst the pandemic. So, Dr. Krishna Kumar, if you could share your unique insights and experience through this for the benefit of our audience.
Well, quite a lot to be spoken. To personal guidance suggestion, this virus issue is nothing new. Our great Vedas speak about virus. Atharvaveda and Rigveda speaks about 134 varieties of virus. And Professor Yaminiji rightly mentioned Deva Vipasya Chikitsa. This is something ancient days, almost every home, if not every village, had Agni Hotras done. Burning of those fumigations cleansed the village so that no such problems came to that whole village and every home was taken care of. Now coming back to the government's initiative, thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, who has taken it up as a passion to speak in every conference about the great need for realizing Ayurveda. He has been tweeting countries after countries in different languages, mentioning about the great science. And today, that awakening has started everybody becoming more conscious that they should get back to the old ancient practice of Ayurveda. Ramanoji rightly mentioned, one is to elevate yourself to higher consciousness. And for that, after waking up early in the morning, taking you to meditation. And all these things can make you more receptive to so many other things. Right now, none of us are concerned anything other than I, me, and myself. But if we can go beyond that I, me, and myself, open up ourselves to a vaster world, we can certainly, and for that, thanks to the Department of Ayush, they have come out with so many various programs, wonderful projects, research programs, supportive programs, grants for that. Education system is being altered. According to the times, they are changing the whole system. And all this is a great reason for hope. And especially you people in Singapore who are non-Vaidyas have no reason to fall sick when you have so many wonderful consultants. And all of them can do a good job. So what you can have is have counseling of theirs, not just go to them for massage for a sickness. Massage is yes. Ayurveda speaks at least once a week, get yourself oil massage, keep your body in good condition, take medicines according to seasonal changes. You have so many different climatic conditions in Singapore. And with this Vaidya, spend time talking about your history, updating them about your past. It's not just showing the symptoms of a disease and asking for a medicine. invite them to the schools, educate the younger generation, take the expectant mothers to them. And I'm sure APAS can do a wonderful job. And Government of India is today wanting promotion of Ayurveda to every nook and corner of the world. And a day is going to come, not only India's mainstream of system of medicine is going to be Ayurveda, but the whole world is going to accept Ayurveda as its mainstream system, because it has the content, as Ramanoji rightly mentioned, which is purely individualistic. And you just can't transfer knowledge give a general illicit prescription, all of you start taking Chyawanprash. It's not that way. It's an individual constitutional condition. And for that, first you should know yourself. What are your problems? What are your health conditions? How good are you? And our Honorable Vaisam, Excellency mentioned about, the toxicity. Today from every foreign country except in India, they come asking for detoxification because they know the water they drink, the air they breathe, everything is full of toxic, which is true. Even the pollution situation, every country is so much. For all this, detoxifying yourself, keeping yourself healthy, and God's greatest creation is man. Today you buy a laptop, you have a workbook, and how much time we take to study it and what all are the uses. But we have never cared to look into our human body consideration. All the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Smritis and Shrutis are talking about the question that you are asking today, were asked in ancient days, how to look after myself, how to elevate myself to higher consciousness. Gradually, now that thank God we have a lockdown, all these books are available in English. Spend some time reading those books. And today I find among the younger generation, especially the Ayurvedic college students, we are having classes at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and minimum attendance is 500 and 600 students. So the world is ready for accepting the great truth of Ayurveda. What we need to is facilitate it. And that's what APAS has done now, creating this webinar. I'm sure with the support of Government of India, and they're inviting applications. They're saying, please come forward with thoughts. And that's why I said Corona is a karunya. It's a compassion of the Lord. For the first time, the Vaidyas from Kanyakumari to Assam have all become one united. Everybody is coming with suggestions as to their own local condition. What are the herbs that to be taken? What are the food systems to be taken? We all moved out from our own Indian system of food to other states. Whereas Ayurveda says, localized food habits are there. Limit yourself to that if you need that type of thing. If an Andhra man is taking chili, he has his own reason. It doesn't suit somebody else, and somebody else needs a lot of ghee, it has a climatic condition. These awarenesses of what is it that your body accepts, as Ramanoji rightly mentioned, one has to start spending at least a little time on your own self, understand yourself. Government is now prepared to fully support. And even day first today, all the government officials, including Rajesh Kotejaji, who's first time a Vaidya has become a full-fledged secretary. He's doing enough and more to promote Ayurveda. I think Singapore should also benefit from it. And His Excellency was mentioning about the tie-up with the university and the government. Whatever help you need from the government side in India, all of us are available. Gita ji also spends a lot of time. Ramanohar spends a lot of time in Delhi. I'm sure Yamini ji also. Many of the students must be there in position. All of us jointly can make a healthier Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna Kumar. I think with all of those inspiring words from our speakers, I hope that somewhere at the end of today's session, everybody does go and try and educate themselves a little bit on Ayurveda. With the abundance of information around us, we're always kind of searching for answers on what to eat, how to live our life, and you have a lot of information on the internet, which is often misleading. But I always say that, Ayurveda is one of the ancient, the oldest sources of information. It came at a time when there was no marketing, there was no commercialization, and it really is the authentic source of information. Dr. Tripathi wants to make a point.
I really support the idea of our ambassador Javed Ashrafji. Why Ayurveda could not globalize and what steps should be taken. I personally feel that Ayurveda is already being practiced by all over the Indians or all over the world, because it is the way of life. The requirement is to validate the effect of these practices in scientific manner. So we are going to launch a very big program where 3 lakh questionnaires are going to be filled to assess the effect of way of life on their health status. If these kind of things are done, because the scientific tool is the one same, it is for modern medicine, for Ayurveda, both having the same tool. So observational study is very much required, and I think all of us, our Krishna Kumarji said, all the Vaidyas have come together, the society is coming together, let us fill that form in a massive way so that statistical analysis using the ethnic variation can be put together and we can validate our concepts of Ayurveda into a scientific language, and science is the only language which is acceptable all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tripathi. We've reached, the end of our program, and there are lots of questions. I do want to once go to Dr. Gita Krishnan before we close today's program. Dr. Gita is obviously, he's with the World Health Organization currently. Based on what other speakers have said, Dr. Gita, we would love to hear your views on what the WHO and the India government is doing for promotion of Ayurveda, integrating traditional medicine with modern medicine to try and give maximum benefits to humanity.
Thank you for giving me this second opportunity. In fact, the day was made for me today when His Excellency Javed sir said that the NTU is going to start a Ayurveda and Science Center. That is the most wonderful news I have heard on this day. Thank you so much, sir, for giving that information. And as Krishna Kumarji said, whatever is possible from the government of India, we could all help in trying to, of course, you have all the, we don't have to tell you that, we can help you through government of India, but outside from government of India and from WHO, whatever is resources and, mobilization of people and all the things which you think might be appropriate to get the center running and up at the minimum period of time, we would be able to help you out to, and we would be happy to help you out to get that done. So with what Dr. Ritika asked, WHO is looking at traditional medicine as against earlier periods of time. WHO strongly believes that whatever may be the genealogy of any medical system, if you have something right to offer, which is safe and effective for managing this particular pandemic, we are open for that. And the DG of WHO had made such a statement several times during his daily briefings, especially on 4th of May, when he said that, we are open for all traditional systems of medicine, provided they are scientifically validated, they are safe and they are effective. And he was also categorically saying that it was not traditional system of medicine or conventional system of medicine that is matter. What matters is whether it is effective and safe. So based on that, WHO is collecting and collating all data which is happening across the globe. There are thousands of researchers happening, which we are still discovering and and cataloging, and we are putting a major repository of this knowledge in WHO, which would be available to all member states very soon enough. And even the government of India has requested WHO to provide this information, and we are in the process of providing it to WHO, to the government of India. Now, I had been fortunate enough to be in India during this period of COVID, starting from March, from the very beginning, and I have seen the excellent work which has happened with WHO, with government of India, and the WHO, the headquarters have been kind enough to allow me to work with government of India during this period, and because of that, I had been closely working with the ministry. There are I should say hundreds of projects which had happened due to the initiatives of the government of India. This is unprecedented in nature. Different areas, starting from preclinical to clinical to like community-based medicine, to prophylactic areas, to specific interventions during the process during the entire pathology development of COVID, to working in tertiary medical centers, to primary medical center. Everywhere, you can imagine that, and there you can see Ayush presence, starting from mental health to management of NCDs, during the COVID period, when the health system is overburdened due to COVID, or taking care of stress levels of patients or people who are working in as frontline workers in COVID. Every single aspect of COVID management and COVID response in India has an Ayush presence right now. To add on to that, Government of India has launched a wonderful app called mobile app called as Ayush Sanjeevani, collecting data of 5 million people, 50 lakh people, who had been using Ayush as a prophylactic. This might be the first time ever in the world that 50 lakh people is giving information about traditional medicine, about the utility of traditional medicine on one particular disease, or overcoming or preventing one particular disease. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for all of us to involve in that, and ask our colleagues, or whom we know who had used Ayush as a prophylactic, to give information there. Another one is the work which WHO and Ayush is thinking of working together, trying to identify how Ayush has been effective during this COVID management, taking as an example about 10 states across the country. I think that will also be an eye-opener for different policymakers, because we feel that where there is a lot of policy related interest and there is a lot of demand in the society, there are certain areas in between which does not match between this demand and availability of resources, where things cannot be really happening within the society, so within the community. So this is something which is being studied, and it will be of great help for Ayush as well as the health system within India to implement that, and also in future conditions where it might not be COVID, some other disease which of course will come up, which we will all have to face at some point in time. Thank you so much, for giving me this short time to explain what we are doing and what Government of India is doing, Ayush Ministry is doing, and this was an excellent, this program. And I once again thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gita. I think everybody is very thrilled to have you on the panel and hear your unique views coming from the perspective of WHO. We've exceeded the time we had allotted for today's panel, so I will have to sadly end this session now. For all members of the audience, we will reach out to you separately and provide answers to your questions if they were not answered during our session. Before we end the panel discussion and today's program, I would please request Sir Javed Ashraf to just give us the last concluding remarks so that we can end the program. And thank you everybody for joining.
No, I think I'll just, I was listening very intently to the panelists and been very encouraged by the steps that are being taken during this COVID period. And I have no doubt that ever since the Prime Minister began this whole International Day of Yoga, the consciousness globally about Ayurveda and yoga has grown. And it isn't just about this as a practice, but about looking at life through the prism of yoga and Ayurveda and what they actually need to do. So I think the sense of the pursuit of wellness as a unifying idea, not just as a physical activity, is gaining traction among the youth as well. So it is, I think, an important contribution. And what work is being done during the pandemic, as has been rightly said, is not just about the COVID, but it will help us understand how we deal with future pandemics, future health crisis in a better way. There is going to be constant support from our end over here to keep popularizing Ayurveda and yoga, to address regulatory issues in Singapore, and to eventually try and make it into something that is part of the accepted traditional system of medicine that will give it a lot of other benefits, including insurance cover and things which people always look to. But aside from that, I think we need to do this, as you did last year during Ayurveda Day, constantly find avenues to keep promoting it in different settings, different groups. Today, everyone can educate themselves, and it has been very rightly pointed out by Dr. Ram Manohar. You can't treat this as off-the-shelf issue. I mean, that's a disservice. And actually, we need to discourage this because there's a great marketing temptation to do that. And, you know, here also in Far East Plaza, we have a very nice shop doing that. But it has got to be, we have to recognize that, and people have to be told, if you want this to be effective, go consult. You are your own one human being requiring a unique solution. And today we talk about customized solution in the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence. We speak about customized solution for everyone. We can do that even with our ancient system. That is what we have to emphasize and remove this disservice that we are in a sense doing to it. And finally, I wanted to add that, you know, NTU has proposed this with us. We have been working on it. We just need to work together to get enough finances to get this done. And I would request the Indian community here also in Singapore to continue to tell your members of parliament, tell the government that we would like this to be adopted and the same status as the traditional Chinese system of medicine in Singapore. It'll make it immensely popular and offer not just Indians, but everyone living here an alternate way to a more healthy and a holistic life, a life that they will actually enjoy and not just be good at, not just be healthy. So again, thank you very much for letting me in. Sorry once again for not having been able to join at the beginning of the panel. I'm really looking forward to hearing these four absolutely eminent speakers and learn something more than I know. Today I know very little actually, but thank you once again for putting this together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for being an absolutely amazing, for being an amazing audience. We've taken more time than we had asked for, but you've all very patiently stayed. So thank you for that. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Dr. Ramanohar, for also answering questions on the side. You know, we hope to organize more such conferences and webinars so that we can continue to educate the community in Singapore and otherwise on the benefits of Ayurveda and how they can incorporate this in their day-to-day life to lead their best lives possible. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ritika ji.
Thank you to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ritika, thank you.
Thank you, sir.